Hello you guys, my name is Aubrey. I am a mom of 7 and my goal this year was to make all of our bread products at home from scratch. So I was so excited because this is my very first time making bread from freshly milled grains. We bought this mock mill about a month ago, but I did not have my grains yet, so I've just been waiting in anticipation. So excited to try it out. So what I'm doing here is putting in 3 cups of flour with the water and the yeast, and we're gonna let that set for about 15 minutes so that it can just really activate the yeast. And I always make the most use of my time in the kitchen. So in that 15 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping this huge bag of celery. I got this in my last Costco haul if you wanna check that out. But I love getting the big bag of celery and just chopping it all at once because multi-purpose. Number one is that it makes it really easy when I want to throw it in soup or stir fry or whatever I'm using it for. It also ensures that none of my celery ever goes bad. And so that together is just like a win-win for me. So I got about 5 or 6 little stacks here, and then I did leave some fresh, and we'll have that for a snack later on today. And by the time I was done with my celery, my 15 minutes was up and it was time to go tend to my dough. So you can see back there that the yeast has definitely been activated. It's puffed up quite a bit, so we know that it's good to go. It's nice and active. So then I added in half a cup of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I like to do that first because it makes the honey slide on out a lot easier and much less cleanup. So there was half a cup of honey going on in there, and I personally like to add the salt last because they say yeast and salt don't really mix, so I don't like putting it in extra early. So here I'm putting in a little over a tablespoon. It's a tablespoon and a quarter. It's an awful measurement, but you know what? It works, and so I'm just gonna go with it. Then I added the remainder of my freshly milled flour. All together, it ended up being 9 cups of freshly milled flour, and you can see it's just mixing together quite lovely. I then let my KitchenAid run for about 9 to 10 minutes to just really get all of this incorporated and looking like a really nice dough. Speaking of the KitchenAid, this was a gift to me from my husband and has definitely been serving our family so well this year with our new goal of making all of our bread products from scratch and then taking it a step further and milling the wheat ourselves. And if you saw earlier, the mock mill that I chose to get was the attachment to the KitchenAid. So instead of having an appliance that its sole purpose was to mill wheat, I decided to go with the attachment so that it could just be multi-purpose, and I'm pretty excited about it. You see there a little bit of white flour because I didn't have quite enough fresh milled flour, so I did add in about half a cup of store-bought flour. But now I know for next time, I'm still learning how much, whole oats, how much does that flour, does that make? It's a learning curve for sure. But here you go, you can see my dough is very soft and pliable, easy to work with. And so yeah, I pretty much followed step by step with the grains and grit. She's got a video all about this explaining every single step. But I love that you're here because what you can see from this is that she's been doing this for 10 years and I'm doing this for the first time today. But the great thing is that there's always people who've gone before you that have forged a path and have knowledge and understanding that you can glean from. So thank you for just learning right alongside me. And I just pray that encourages you to not let not knowing something hold you back, but pushes you towards finding someone who has the skills that you want to acquire that can help you along your path. So here I am. She says to roll it out kind of in a rectangular shape, about 1/2 inch maybe. I can't remember the exact measurements thick. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to fold it. You're going to kind of pull and stretch the dough, fold it halfway, and then we're going to kind of roll it in like this jelly roll type of situation where you're pulling towards you, rolling forward, pulling towards you, rolling forward. And I think all that does is help the gluten content and the structure of your bread. I don't know it down to an exact science, but what I can tell you is it definitely worked and these loaves turned out beautifully. The next thing you see me doing here is basically just forming the loaf to make sure it doesn't have any rough edges, no cracks, because however it rises and bakes is how it's going to turn out. So if I would have left like a crack or a crease in the dough, it's going to end up splitting the bread. And so yeah, I just wanted all the sides as smooth as possible. There was a little bit of a lump, so I worked on that a little bit more and smoothed it out. And then I did the other 2 loaves just the same and got all 3 of them in their pan and ready to rise for 35 minutes to an hour, depending on how warm your house is and the climate outside. And the kids just came in from playing outside to enjoy some delicious ants on a log. No, don't poke a lot. As you can see, they rose perfectly. You don't want them to over rise because they're going to continue to rise in the oven. But there we go, 35 minutes later. You guys, these loaves turned out beautifully. I was so pleasantly surprised. I was a little nervous to do the fresh milled, but it just worked so perfect. So I let them rest in the pan for about 10 minutes. Then I took them out to cool on their side. Then I stored them and was ready to slice them, and we have been enjoying them ever since. Thank you for spending the day with me making some bread, and I hope this is encouraging for you to go and try something new. Doesn't have to be bread. If it is, awesome, great, glad that hopefully I can help. But even if it's not, go do something new today, something you've always been wanting to do. And until next time, have a very blessed day.